Something doesn't feel right about this. I don't know what it is, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Oh, you know what it is actually? I need a change of outfit. Believe me when I say that I am just as shocked as you are that I'm doing this. I don't even want to face the camera, man. This is my life now. Wait, why am I doing this? Jesus Christ, why the fuck am I doing this? So Pokemon. What a shitty franchise. Nah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's just some stuff that I wanted to talk about in relation to the past of the Pokemon franchise of games, and talk about why some of those concern me and how it could potentially affect the quality of the upcoming Pokemon Scarlet and Violet games. The first problem I wanted to go over is the fact that you're not subscribed to the channel. I'm sorry, I have to appease my YouTube overlords somehow. No, but seriously, the first problem I actually wanted to talk about, and maybe the main issue with the Pokemon franchise, is quantity over quality. I know what some people might be thinking reading this. What are you talking about? We obviously prefer quality over quantity, and of course I agree, because if I didn't, I'd be uploading videos every day and be extremely stressed and probably depressed. What I actually mean by this is that Game Freak seems to run on the policy of quantity over quality when it comes to the pace in which they release new Pokemon games. I mean, just look at all of the Pokemon content we've gotten in the past couple of years. We've got Pokken Tournament, Pokemon Go, Sun and Moon, Pokemon Duel, Pokken Tournament DX, Ultra Sun and Moon, Pokemon Quest, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Pokemon Masters EX, Sword and Shield, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, Pokemon Cafe Remix, new Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Unite, Gen 4 Remake, which is... but we'll get into that in a little bit, and Legends Arceus, which is the last game to come out in the series as of late. That is all of the Pokemon content we've gotten from 2016 to current day 2022, and that's not even including any movies or shows. Everything I mentioned was just games. I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of Pokemon games. Maybe a little too much if you ask me. And I know what you might be thinking now that you're hearing this. You might be thinking, well, Deventress, with the way you put it, it sounds like you don't want any Pokemon games to be released. And that is actually the opposite of the truth. What I actually think is that in reality, I just want Pokemon Company to take their time. Is that really too much to ask for, to take time on your mainline Pokemon games? I can understand wanting to keep a franchise alive by consistently keeping new content flowing out, but this release strategy just ends up affecting the individual products due to lack of time spent or a lacking budget, since Pokemon Company is always working on a ton of projects at once and probably had their money split in a ton of different directions because of it. And look, I'm well aware that this type of release strategy is pretty common in the gaming industry nowadays, especially for other franchises that are similarly successful, but I want to bring up Pokemon in this conversation specifically because to me, Pokemon as a series for the last maybe decade now has been nothing but wasted potential. You know, I'm sure that they probably make more money by releasing games the way they do now, having one game or maybe sometimes even more every single year, but I just think that they're squandering the potential each individual Pokemon game has, you know, and the reputation and the quality of the franchise as a whole has gone down because of it, I think. In my opinion, every mainline Pokemon game for years now has kind of just been the same stuff over and over again with small changes, minus Legends Arceus. Seeing all these Pokemon games copy and paste the same formula for over 2 decades now has just left my taste buds kind of sour, and the one time I tried to get a taste of it again in Sword and Shield, I came to dislike it even more, and you can check out this video that I made about it if you want to know what I think about that game. Ugh. But this is exactly why I haven't bought a new Pokemon game in years. They've all just looked very uninspired and boring to me, and it just came off as them repeating the same shit over and over again, and I hate that kind of repetition. I always like to say variety is the spice of life, and as much as I like vanilla, I'd prefer to dabble in other flavors when they're presented to me, you know what I'm saying? I personally don't see any reason as to why they can't take their time with their individual games like Mario or Zelda or Smash, for example. I mean, yeah, Mario and Zelda take years and years and years for new games to come out, but every single time a new entry in the franchise of those franchises come out, they take the industry by storm and usually end up setting a new standard of quality for AAA Nintendo games, and in my opinion, if they took that same time with Pokemon, then it would have that same potential to be industry breaking, you know what I'm saying? I mean, just the entire concept of Pokemon itself and everything surrounding its world is so unique and innovative that anybody else that has tried to replicate its formula hasn't been anywhere nearly as successful. So I just find it disappointing that the potential of this series is wasted on games like Pokemon Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu. And normally in a conversation like this, I would be like, oh, you know, I still don't understand why to this day that every Pokemon game still sells well, but I'm not surprised at all. They very clearly found a formula that works, and hey, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. But I don't know, sometimes I feel like things need to be broken in order to be rebuilt into something better than its original form. It's still very bizarre to me how long Pokemon fans complained about all the games being the same and yet continue to hold on to hope and buy the new games just to be disappointed all over again, and the cycle just repeats and repeats forever. Don't get it twisted either, I'm very aware from the very beginning that the Pokemon franchise has been designed to make as much money as possible. I mean, I've never seen any other series release two versions of the exact same game on the same day with small differences in each version, so Pokemon has always been quite unique and its approach to being greedy. A good example of this is Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which is the laziest cash grab I've seen from the series in a good while, and that's saying a lot considering what I just said like 15 seconds ago. For the longest of times, fans asked for a Gen 4 remake, and when they finally got a Gen 4 remake, they complained that the remake is too similar to the original. Do you guys know what a remake is? Because that's the entire point of a remake, or in reality a remaster, because that's really what Brilliant Diamond is, a remaster. I personally would have just preferred if they had just updated the original Gen 4, fixed the frame rate, you know, maybe add some HD resolution, maybe fix up some of the sprite work, and put in the quality of life changes that was added in Brilliant Diamond and have sold it for like 20 to 25 bucks. But I mean, if we're being realistic, we know that was never going to happen because the way they did it would have just made them more money, which it probably did. By the way, you're a sucker if you bought Brilliant Diamond for full price, okay? I'm not sorry. Hey, come on, man, don't be like that. You know Nintendo could have added a lot more to distinguish it or make it better than the original game. Yeah, I agree, they could have, but knowing that they will make the same amount of money regardless of the quality, do you really think they're gonna do that? Of course not. Why would they? It's not like they've ever shown any desire to do that with other games before Legends Arceus. I gotta admit, Legends Arceus was a pretty massive step towards what I and lots of other fans have wanted for a long time now, but I still didn't buy the game. It's a fully open world that's free to explore as you want, and the game expands on the concept of catching Pokemon as its own essential gameplay mechanic, which is a great move in my opinion. That's literally what you do for half the game, just observe and catch Pokemon in their natural habitats, which is a fantastic idea, and it seems like they executed it well for the most part. I've never really cared much about the story of any given Pokemon game, and I've heard some people say that the story is good, and I've heard others say that the story for the game sucks ass, so I don't have any opinion on it yet, but a good story for a Pokemon game would always be appreciated. Again, I never really came to Pokemon for a good story, but I think it could add a lot to the value of the game itself, and also I appreciate the change-ups in the battle system to keep battles from feeling too monotonous, which is a pretty significant problem that most RPGs still haven't dealt with to this day, if you ask me. I can't lie to you though, every single time I saw Legends Arceus, like a trailer or gameplay or something, I couldn't help but feel like all of the changes that the game added was stuff that probably should have been a series standard for a very long time now, and that the game, to me, it just felt like a beta version of what fans have been asking for like a decade now. Although I gotta admit, Scarlet and Violet have probably been the most excited I've been for any mainline Pokemon game in years. For one, the characters in this game look like actual characters, and this world is open and explorable just like Legends Arceus, and co-op is finally becoming a real thing in Pokemon, and I can't lie, the idea of exploring a new Pokemon game with your friends for the first time sounds so fun, and this was maybe the main thing that sold me on this game so far. I also really like the idea of participating in normal school life in a Pokemon game. I think that addition may be one of the missing links this series needed to feel more fleshed out, and I just think having an actual social life outside of walking around random areas and battling people before walking away and never talking to them again I just think it's very important to make trainers feel like actual people and not obstacles to your end goal. If they pull that off, then the world will feel way more lived in, which will help this game out immensely if they do it right. Also, I gotta say, now that we're on the topic of Scarlet and Violet, that the new legendaries have some really cool designs. This is probably the most interested I've been in any legendaries of any Pokemon game as of late, and I just think the whole concept of using the legendaries as a mode of transportation that Legends Arceus introduced is a pretty great idea, and the whole thing of also them kind of acting as a motorcycle is pretty cool. Also, in case you're wondering, the version of the game I'm going to pick is Violet. Yeah, I was actually thinking of picking Scarlet originally, but in the end, the legendary for Violet and its whole motorcycle thing it's got going on kind of won me over, and it's just cool, man. I don't know. I just think the whole concept of using a legendary as a mode of transportation is a pretty interesting twist on the normal open world formula like Zelda and Elden Ring, which either you teleport to random places, walk, drive, or hop on a horse like a lot of the time. I think it's a cool way of it kind of, you know, making this world feel more realistic, because I think in the Pokemon world, people would probably be using their Pokemon to transport way more often instead of walking around or biking around like you always do in Pokemon games. You know what I mean? Again, I wish these changes were included sooner, because the more I think about it, I could have just imagined how far the series could have progressed creatively if this stuff was introduced before the Switch was even a thing. And I'm sure that they probably thought about all this stuff before, but Pokemon Company or Nintendo or whoever probably didn't let them do these things. But if they did back then, these games would be revolutionary by now, you know? But I can't complain too much, because at the end of the day, this game looks pretty solid outside of looking like an old HD Wii game. Also, if anyone's curious, I'm picking the duck starter. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. I like the little water duck. His hair, his Elvis hairstyle is pretty cool. And at this point, I can confidently say that I'm going to take that pick to my grave. At this point, I can confidently say that we're probably never getting another Sword and Shield ever again, and that thought just helps me sleep easier at night. Goodbye.